There's a cop who murdered a homeless man, and I'm using the word properly, was charged, was out on bond, was able to travel anywhere he chose. Put it up for a mass. An ex-cop who killed a homeless man, an unsheltered man, traveled freely despite an arrest warrant being active. Former LAPD officer Clifford Proctor, who was wanted by the authorities for murder for an entire year, traveled internationally and lived in Los Angeles despite a warrant of his arrest. Here's Proctor, picture. According to the report, he killed an unarmed, unsheltered man while on duty in 2015. Former LAPD officer was able to fly in and out of the country with an active warrant several times, by the way. He was able to live freely in Southern California for more than a year, despite an active warrant for his arrest in the 2015 killing of an unsheltered man. According to his defense attorney and the LA County prosecutors leading his pending murder case. Now, they want you to believe that this was just an oversight, okay? Him being a cop had nothing to do with this. Him killing someone who may not have had socioeconomic influence to the caliber of those prosecuting him had nothing to do with this. How in the hell does something like this happen? Because typically, if you have a warrant for that kind of crime, you're on every database for travel, for getting an updated passport, to catching the bus. A grand jury indicted Officer Proctor, age 60, September 2024. You know how hard it is to get an indictment on a cop for somebody who's unsheltered at that? After the district attorney's office reopened an investigation into the shooting death of Brendon Glenn, Proctor shot Glenn, who was only 29 years of age, twice in the back during an attempted arrest in 2015 in Venice Beach. Mr. Glenn was unarmed. Proctor, who resigned from the LAPD in 2017, was not arrested until last October, when he was detained by U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents in Los Angeles International Airport. Law enforcement sources previously told the Times that Proctor was actually returning to the country from an international flight when CBP arrested him on the murder warrant. There's more. In a November court filing, Officer Proctor's defense attorney, Tom Yu, provided exhibits and sworn statements showing that his client had been in the U.S. and was planning to depart the country on the day he was arrested. Travel documents included as an exhibit in a court filing show Proctor was scheduled to fly from Los Angeles to Panama City, October 16th, 2025. A sworn declaration from Proctor's wife submitted to the court by his lawyer shows he has flown internationally to the Caribbean island, Trinidad, 4 times since 2024, when the indictment was handed down. During the time he wasn't traveling, Proctor was living in LA County, according to the attorney, who said the DA's office never made an attempt to arrest the ex-cop. Keep in mind, he has an active warrant out for his arrest for murder. Now, we've seen SWAT kick in the door of a grandmother's home because they believe somebody sold narcotics out of that domicile. Didn't happen, but because of one potential drug sale, SWAT will come find you, tear up your structure, arrest you, turn your life upside down, and not think a second thought. This man had an active warrant out for his arrest for actual murder. There's more. Greg Risley, a spokesperson for the Los Angeles County DA's office, confirmed investigators monitored, and this is their wording, monitored Proctor's home in Carson in October 2024. But by the time his arrest was authorized, Risley said Proctor was nowhere to be found. So wait a minute, sir. How do you lose someone who's under surveillance? You said he was being monitored. Why is he being monitored? Is he a flight risk? If he was a flight risk, why did you all not request or require that he not be granted bail? If he's a flight risk and you have him under surveillance, how was he able to leave the country? You obviously knew an arrest warrant was coming because you had him under, monitoring. There's more. Prosecutors soon learned that Proctor had flown to Trinidad as part of a trip that he planned earlier in the year. According to the spokesperson, Proctor was supposed to re-enter the U.S. through Miami in late October 2024. The spokesperson said, so investigators went to Florida to arrest him, according to their report. Quote, it was later determined that Mr. Proctor had canceled that return flight, and it is unknown as to the reason why. So where did Proctor go? Well, he went home. He went back to LA County. They could have found him in LA County because Florida is the place that they're most familiar with coming from California. V. James D. Simone, an attorney representing Glenn's family, issued a statement on Monday expressing shock about Officer Proctor's ability to travel freely. Quote, it's extraordinary that someone with a murder warrant was allowed to live in his home and travel internationally for a year through America's airports. He said, quote, you have to wonder whether a murder suspect who is not a former cop would have been treated the same way, end quote. Law enforcement experts say it is unusual for anyone wanted on a murder charge to have an arrest warrant pending for a year, especially while often traveling overseas. Proctor's warrant should have been automatically flagged by a U.S. Department of Homeland Security database whenever he entered or left the country, according to Nima Rahmani, a former federal prosecutor. I'm going to give you my opinion as to why that didn't happen in just a moment. Quote, he was here in the U.S. What happened to all of 2025? He was here. Did they just let the year skip? Sorry, we forgot, said you, a former LA County Sheriff's deputy who described the failure to act on a murder warrant as reckless. A CBP spokesperson said agents encountered Proctor several times at airports outside the state of California after the indictment was handed down. However, the terms of the warrant prevented them from making an arrest. The terms of the warrant for murder prevented them from making an arrest. The warrant was restricted to, quote, in-state pick-up only and did not permit extradition to California, said the spokesperson. So now we're getting to the cause and effect. It's called a non-extradition warrant. What's a non-extradition warrant? Well, not supposed to be for killers, all right? That's supposed to be for traffic tickets. Non-extradition warrant. You go to California, you get a ticket, you don't go to court, you got a warrant out for your arrest for failure to appear, FTA. The court says, all right, if they come back to California, give them bracelets, lock them up. However, if they're outside of California, it's a non-extradition warrant. Why? Because the resources it would require in order to get somebody back to California on a failure to appear for a traffic citation doesn't make good judicial sense. And so they file it as non-extradition. That is never filed for people who are indicted for murder. So somebody looked out for them. The district attorney's office said it was not made, or it has not made a final decision on taking Proctor to trial. He is due back in court next month. Proctor was released from custody last November on a $100,000 bail. At a recent court hearing, you requested a judge allow Proctor to travel to Seattle for work. The DA's office made no objection. Once again, it's insane. So how do you evade authorities when your name is in a database? I'm not saying he did this. I'm speculating as to how it would happen. You would utilize a fake ID. That's how you would do it. Okay. Sharon, thoughts here?
With help on the inside, I don't know if it's the criminal kind of help, but this is really stinks. Okay. And had he not been a one-time cop and instead a gardener or a nanny, I wonder if they would have, somebody would have been looking out for him.
Right.
But then you also have the victim, the unhoused in this case. So no harm, no foul. Just an unhoused person who was murdered, Doc. So nothing to see here. There should be more shame. There should be shame. Look at the quotes you just read for us from the district attorney's office. It's just kind of like shoulder shrug, whatever.
Yeah.
Unhoused, something. Both teams played hard. Ridiculous.
And it doesn't seem as if they're putting up a fight for prosecution.
No.
Their response is quite ridiculous. This man globetrotted across the whole damn planet and only came in because somebody else brought him in. The DA's office never brought him in. If it was up to the DA's office, he may still be at his home or traveling to the Caribbean. All right, we'll bring you updates on this. A soul is a soul, a person is a person, a human being is a human being, period. And everybody deserves dignity and justice if they have been criminally assaulted, harmed in any way, or God forbid, murdered, period.